Welcome to the Finance Fools. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dan. This is episode 7, and we'll be talking about new versus used cars and the advantages and disadvantages of both. Now, I'm not a specialist on new cars, but I know old Matt here, he used to sell cars. So Matt, go ahead and give us a little bit of information on the benefits of buying a new car.
Well, buying a new car, you have your full coverage warranty, bumper to bumper, 3 years, $36,000 is typically the minimum warranty that you'll get on a new car. Some of them even have, say, 3 years, $36,000, 10 years, $100,000 for the powertrain warranty. So when you have a new car, you have special financing options available, typically from the manufacturer. They'll have rebates or special interest rates. You can also, whenever you get, if you work for a large corporation, sometimes you can get a predetermined purchase price where you don't even have to go negotiate on a new vehicle. You go in, you say, hey, I qualify for supplier pricing or X plan or whatever that it is that's, the agreement from the manufacturer in your work, and then you get that deal. So those are some of the different advantages of buying a new car. Peace of mind, everything that's ever happened to it, and you have that. So that's why I typically buy a new car, is that. Now Dan, I know he's more of a used car buyer than what I am. And why do you like to buy used cars, Dan?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. First is the money aspect. I like to buy a cheaper car because there's been times where I've had $3,000 or $4,000 cash, and I don't want to have to take out a loan, so I just go to a used car dealership and say, look at cars and find a decent one and say, hey, I got $4,000 cash. And again, I usually can get, $45,000 to $5,000 car if I've got the cash on hand. Another reason why I get used cars is because, again, I move around. So if I get a used car and I own it, it's then a lot easier for me to turn around and resell it. Those are a couple of reasons why I get used cars.
And what Dan said with that is it's easier to sell. To an extent, that can be right, as long as you don't overpay for a used car. But also, whenever you buy the new car and you're the first owner of it, then you're going to take that first depreciation when you get rid of it. And the first depreciation, they say when you drive off the lot, you're losing $5,000 instantly. Well, that's money that, you as the owner of that vehicle have to pay for initially. And it's really, they depreciate, but it only really matters if you go to get rid of it. If you don't go to get rid of it, then it's not a big deal because you're holding on to it. But when you're looking for new cars, whether it's new or used, you need to do some good research. And if you want to research and compare, a great tool is when you look at like a 5-year cost of ownership, you can look at the depreciation, you can look at the insurance cost, maintenance, repairs, and then you're able to compare warranty between all the different vehicles that you're considering as well to see which car will be the right fit for you. If you don't drive a lot, you may not care about the warranty as much. For, if you're going to drive 10,000 miles a year, you're like, okay, 36,000 mile warranty, I'm not even going to use all of it, no big deal. But if you drive 30,000 miles a year, then warranty is something that you're going to consider a lot more.
Yeah, something I do when I look at buying a used car is, one, I want to look at the Carfax. I want to know, has this car been in a wreck, or what kind of condition has this car been in? What's the history of this vehicle? And then I also look at, for example, the Kelley Blue Book. I want to see, what's this car worth? What's the going price? Because I want to make sure that I'm getting a good deal and I'm not getting screwed over. So then I can go in with that knowledge and make a good deal. Matt, what are some other good research sites that somebody can look to?
Well, like you said, Kelley Blue Book, that's a great one. And then there's a lot of different cars. Car sites. Carfax, Edmunds, Cars.com, NADA, Auto Trader, Kelley Blue Book. You can look at these different sites and you can see, what the critics say about each car. They'll speak good or bad, pros and cons. But then also when you're looking at them, what I do when I go look at a new car that I'm going to go buy, and this is brand new, I go to the website. So for me, I'm a Toyota guy. So I go to Toyota. I build a car that I'm going to buy. And then I get the price of what it's going to cost. So then from there, I go to Kelley Blue Book and I do the same thing. I try to get the price as close as possible. Kelley Blue Book on their site, it'll show me the MSRP and it'll show me the invoice price. So with the invoice, I pay invoice or less is my goal, because what that does is you start out with your MSRP, and then from MSRP down to the invoice mark, all that money that's in the middle of that is profit. So if you get down to invoice, then that's what the dealer basically owns the car for. It is and it ain't, but for the purpose of this conversation, they own it at invoice. So whenever I went and bought my Toyota, I paid $100 under invoice, plus I had a $1,000 rebate on top of it, plus 0% for 72 months. So it was a fantastic deal.
So does that mean then that the dealership didn't make any money off of you buying that vehicle?
They made a little bit of money. We call it back end money, and the back end money, it's hold back. They get money for whatever incentive that the manufacturer has for them. Might be selling X amount of units per month, or getting rid of model year end clearance. They have their different ways where they're making back end money that they make from the manufacturer. And so that's kind of where, because they have to have something, some sort of income to pay the lights and pay commission and everything to their salespeople.
Now, is it difficult to pay the invoice price? Because I think that might be kind of difficult for a lot of people to do.
Well, so the difficulty lies in the person. For me, it's not hard at all. Now, I'm not trying to sound arrogant by saying that, but I know how to negotiate. And that's what it is. It's negotiating. For me, I have great credit, and I go in, I know what I'm doing, and I know that I can afford a car. So I will be arrogant maybe to the salesperson. I will tell them, I know what I'm doing. This is what I'm willing to pay. This is what I want to do. Either I'm going to do it here, or I'll walk out and I'll go do it somewhere else. I don't waste time. I just take care of business. I want to get in and get out. My last car, I sent an email to probably 10 different Toyota dealerships, and then I chose one that was about 45 minutes to an hour away and went down there. I already did a credit application over the phone with the internet sales rep and had my credit approved, loan approved, everything. I went in, drove the car, went back to the lot, sat down with the finance manager. He wanted to sell me a bunch of stuff that I didn't need. Said no. So got my payment, 0%, 72 months, walked out the door, no big deal. So it was really easy. So everybody's persona is different, and it just depends on whether you're willing to negotiate and get up and walk out or not.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think I lack is those hardcore negotiating skills. I can negotiate to a certain point, but again, I think the takeaway from that, though, is not the arrogance, but it's that you have the knowledge and the know-how, and you go in with all of that knowledge so you can say, I know what I'm doing, I want this, 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 and this, and they're not able to talk you into something you don't want or talk you into paying more than what you're willing to pay.
And that's absolutely right. And, everybody wants a car payment for $200 a month and on a brand new car, and that's not going to happen, So, but on the big thing is you have to be realistic on what you're going to do. But a line that I used to use, and it's a pretty valid line, or at least I'm trying to justify that it is, but it's better to pay a little more for something you really want than to pay a little less for something that you don't. And, for me, I'm like, okay, I'd rather pay an extra $10 a month on something that I know that, hey, if this has this extra feature and it has 20,000 less miles on it or whatever. So you can kind of look at it like that. But the best way to go buy a car is to be informed and know what cars are selling for and what your options are that are out there. And so, like for Dan, wanting to go look at used cars, my advice would be get on different car websites. And then you can do a search on 3 or 4 different sites for the car that you think that you want, and then look at prices. And then after that, then that way you can go to a dealership and know what other dealers are selling them for. and then okay, I've got potentially $2,000 to $3,000 of wiggle room on here to try to negotiate, get this used car down, and then that's if you're going to buy a car at a dealership that's like $20,000. Sometimes they have the room, but sometimes they don't. But if they don't, and you don't want it enough, you can get up and walk away. That's the biggest thing.
That's going to do it for this episode. Please like and subscribe. And as always, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Email us with any questions at thefinanceFools@gmail.com. Our next week's episode is going to be materialism versus minimalism. Remember, plan your work and work your plan. Tune in for more from
The Finance Fools.